So one of those forms is the transaction action plan. Okay, this is the same form I shared with you during our purchase transaction, but this is now the listing tab that we're going to work off of today. So we're just going to work through this list, talk about it, open up, share other details and things that you may find beneficial. So, and anything that we talk about that's like a tool, I'm going to try to throw in that listings folder so you have one place to find it all. So listing appointment, right? We're not going to dive into that very far today. I'm hoping to share the listing appointment. I'm hoping to snag an agent from another office that has a stellar listing presentation. So we're working on that. But right, you're going to set, once you have somebody that's like, hey, I'm thinking about selling a house, you're going to set that listing appointment. You're going to make sure they're in your database. Please make sure to put them in your database, pull comps, run that CMA, drop off that pre-listing packet, which we talked about on multiple occasions. We can revisit that again in the future, and then get that signed listing agreement. Okay, so I'm just going to gloss over that part because really we're talking about signed listing agreement to close an escrow. So once we have that signed listing agreement, you'll see our next item on here, item number 12 or line 12. It's not really item 12, but line 12 is start listing emails. And you're like, Amy, what the heck are listing emails? Here is my listing email template. I haven't looked at this in a while, so it could need tweaked. But email number 1 is signed listing agreement. It says, thank you again for trusting us to list your home. Our intention is to make this process as smooth and as painless as possible. In order to help us market your home correctly and to serve you in the best way possible, please complete the following survey. They're going to click this link here, which is going to take them to the listing input Google form. That's also in that Google Drive folder. And it's magically gone. There we go. Getting to know you and your home. It's going to ask them questions about the sellers. What are their legal names? Who else is on title? Best contact number, best email for them. So you have all that information on hand. How do they like to be communicated with? Do they like email? Do they like text? Do they like phone calls? Right. So it's going to go through all of that. And then it's going to ask them all the questions that you need to know about their home and more to put that home into the MLS. What kind of siding do they have? What kind of flooring do they have? What kind of roof is it? How old is the roof? How old is the water heater? Do they have any, 220 volt plugs? Do they have solar on the house? Do they have a swimming pool? And then if they have a swimming pool, it's going to ask them questions about that. If they have solar, it's going to ask them for their questions about that. So it just goes through and asks them everything that they might need to know. Do they have any pets on the property, right? Do they have any showing preferences or restrictions? So that's what this link goes to. Items to watch for as we get closer to your on-market date. We will need to come by and pick up a spare key if you haven't already given us one. Hopefully, we already got one. A for sale sign will be installed within 10 days of going on market. If you do not want a sign, please let us know. We will be installing a for sale sign in your yard to help you market to your neighbors and those that may be passing by. We will be scheduling professional photos. You do not need to be home for this appointment. We just ask that you remove and secure any pets in the garage during this time. We will not be photographing the garage or the insides of any closets. Okay, super important there. I don't post photos of closets and garages. Maybe if somebody had like a stellar, $10,000 closet setup system, then I might like highlight that. But other than that, closets and garages, they just don't add any value on the MLS. So we just don't do it, which gives people a little bit more time. They can cram stuff in those closets in that garage before we go on market so that they're ready for photos, and then they can finish decluttering those after photos. So it gives them a nice place to stash things. We'll be scheduling any pre-listing inspections that we have discussed. This may include a pest, home, and or roof inspection. Sarah, my transaction coordinator, will be handling all of the paperwork on our transaction. Continue to look for emails from me to help you get your home ready to shine and make this transaction seamless. Here are some tips on prepping your house for photos and sale, right? Exterior, interior. It gives them just some little tips of getting their house ready for sale. That's the first email that goes out to them. Okay, sign listing agreement, and then this email. Okay. Then that takes us into our pre-listing period. You want to make sure to update your database. We always want to keep information up to date. You sent out that email. Hopefully they filled it out with their best contact information. favorite email, make sure that's all updated in your database. If you have a transaction coordinator, you want to make sure to send that listing paperwork to your admin or to your transaction coordinator. Okay, that should go as soon as they're signed. It should go to them because ultimately your transaction coordinator needs to get that information into SkySlope within 24 hours of a signed listing agreement. You're going to make sure that your transaction coordinator has your seller contact info in case they need to reach out to them or in case they need to share that with title and escrow. Input that listing into SkySlope. If you have a transaction coordinator, they're going to do that for you. Create your disclosures IO file. Okay, and it should say HomeLight Listing Management. We're going to go HLM right here. HomeLight, it used to be Disclosures IO. Now it's HomeLight Listing Management. So remember, HomeLight Listing Management is this site here where you can set up, and I add all of my properties into here. You just hit create property package. If you want to know how to log into here, you go into Berries and then into your additional tools and things that it gives you on that main homepage. You can access Disclosures or HomeLight Listing Management. Click on it. You'll create a login. Use your login for your Berries login, and then you have access to this HomeLight Listing Management. So highly recommend it. To create package, you just hit the button. I represent the seller. Just so you know, I create these packages for all of my clients. We talked about this on the buyer, and I always say that I represent the seller because it gives you more ability on your package to be able to change it, edit it, add things, share it. So I always say seller. But anyway, so you're just going to walk through that process there. Once you're done walking through, it's going to create a package like this. And this is where I put all of my seller disclosures. So I don't put the listing agreement in here, but outside of that, I put in, you know, whatever county it's in, that disclosure, your statewide buyer and seller advisory, anything that's going to be a disclosure, your transfer disclosure statement, which we'll talk about in a minute, your seller property questionnaire. When I open pre-escrow and I get my preliminary title report, my NHD report, my CC&Rs, those all go in here as well. And then I'm going to put a link to this in the MLS. To do that, we just hit share package. You're going to come down here, hit get share link. Users with the link can immediately view documents, copy that link, and then I copy and paste that into the MLS under the private comments so that all potential buyers and agents have access to this file to be able to see all the disclosures, any reports that we have up front. Any questions about that? Okay, usually when I start this file, as I'm following this action plan, there's not going to be a whole lot in it. So line item 18, where it says create HLM file, it's probably going to be empty, but it may have a few like blanket disclosures. So usually with my listing agreement, I send out other paperwork to be signed as well. Anything that doesn't require questions. So like your water conserving plumbing fixture, carbon monoxide disclosure, your water heater, smoke detector statement of compliance, your wildfire disaster advisory, your square foot lot size, your statewide buyer and seller agreement, your market conditions advisory. So all those random ones that don't have questions and the sellers actually have to fill out, I have them sign those with the listing agreement. So it's all done up front. Then my next item is send disclosures out via Glide 1 week prior to active. I don't want to do this too soon. If we've got that listing agreement signed a month in advance, I don't want them filling out their transfer disclosure statement and their seller property questionnaire before 1 week in advance. But within that 1 week time frame, that's the appropriate time that they could do it. And I do that through Glide. So again, if you go into Berries, member login. All right, there we go. It's going to take you to your main dashboard. This is where you're going to find that disclosures IO as well as the Glide link. So in case you go looking for that, here under productivity tools, here's your HLM, your HomeLight Listing Management. That's where we just were. And then I use Glide for everything sellers have questions to answer for. So I just click on this little purple box with the sideways It looks like a heart to me. And that's going to open up Glide. Same thing here. Here, your sellers can fill out anything that they have questions that they have to answer. So that's going to be your SPQ, or your seller property questionnaire, and your transfer disclosure statement. If the house was built before 1978, excuse me. If the house was built before 1978, you're going to have that lead-based paint disclosure. And if it was built before 1965, I think, then you have the earthquake hazard zone disclosure. If it is in a fire hazard zone, I think they can fill out the fire hardening disclosure through there, but don't quote me on that. It could be wrong. And they can also fill out, if they're an exempt seller, they don't have to do the SPQ and the TDS. They can do the exempt seller disclosure through there rather than the TDS and the SPQ. All right, hold on. It's opening. Slowly but surely. There we go. Here's your transactions. This was like a fake one that I created a while ago. But we want the listing side of it. So you would just come in here and hit new transaction. It's going to ask you, you're going to fill in the information, and then you're going to start the disclosure package. So see right here, it'll say disclosure package. You would click on that, and then it's going to give you the ability to invite sellers to fill out disclosures. And then here, it'll give you the option to select which ones you want. Oh, you can also send out the seller's affidavit of non-foreign status, which each seller has to complete. So that's a good place to do that as well. So here's where you would fill out all those questionnaires. And again, I do this 1 week prior to going on the market, before going live. Okay, and so that's in Glide. Okay, so that's your send disclosures out via Glide 1 week prior to active. And then here it lists them, your TDS, SPQ, lead, earthquake. I think this is actually 1965. And your wildfire and your exempt seller disclosure. Moving on, I usually take a picture of the front of the home. Okay, why do I do that before we have professional photos? Because I was putting it in as a coming soon on Zillow, as well as you can put it into the MLS as a coming soon, but you need to have a photo, or you should have a photo to do that. And oftentimes that's before we throw it on the market officially, or before we have those professional photos. So oftentimes I try to snap a nice picture of the front of the home. Okay, that way I've got it. If you were at the home, you could always, and they had like an amazing kitchen, you could always go in and snap one picture of the interior of the home, whatever that key feature is, or the backyard, maybe there's a pool or something. So just something so that you have a picture of it, so that you have something to utilize for your coming soon marketing. All right. Then usually, so I have a Showing Time membership. So you also get Showing Time through Barry's. I like Showing Time. And if you're like, Amy, they're the enemy, they're owned by Zillow, it's all right. It is what it is, but I like Showing Time. So I like using something that doesn't require me to schedule the appointments, and that doesn't put potential buyers agents or buyers in contact with my sellers. I never want them communicating directly. And with Showing Time, it allows my sellers to approve or deny showings without me having to be involved, and I can see what's going on. So I really like it for that function. But if you'll notice here, it says input Showing Time with email. So you want to make sure, oftentimes you put it into Barry's, the listing, right? And then it auto populates into Showing Time, as long as you've got the same email created with Showing Time as you do with Barry's. And again, that's one of those links that should be on your Barry's dashboard right here, Showing Time. So as long as you use the same email, it should link and automatically, and you input your license information, everything. So it pulls that data from the MLS. But now what you want to do is you want to go into Showing Time, and you want to make sure that your sellers' names are in there with their emails and their phone numbers, so that you have more flexibility on what you're allowed to do inside of this. I don't think I'm going to have anything in here, so it's not going to be very helpful. Let's just double check. Oh, look at it. Cool. I do. All right. So this allows you right here in contacts, you can add owner occupant, right? And you want to add them with their email and their phone number so that when they create their own account, that it links them to their property. Super important there so that they can see it. Because what this is going to allow them to do is they actually get an app on their phone. And this app allows them to see what showings are scheduled. So not only can they approve and deny, let's see, can you guys still see me? Anastasia messaged me that she was having problems seeing me.
I can see you.
Oh, good. All right. Just want to make sure I wasn't talking to myself. Thank you for my thumbs up, Abby. All right. So in here, you would just go add owner occupants. You would plug them in here. You'd hit add new. Owner, occupants. All right. You could mark them as an owner, but they don't occupy the property. You want to make sure that you have a mobile phone in there because that allows them to get text messages right here. All right. And then you also want to put their email. Okay. And then you're going to hit save because this is going to allow you, see now it's got, hey, can they confirm appointments by either text or email? Or do they want a phone call? And then do you want them notified? And you could have like, oftentimes you got spouses, one's really doing the approving, the other one just wants to be notified. So you can set this up and tweak it however you need to tweak it. And however you want to adjust it. So it gives you some flexibility. So you always want to make sure you go in here after the property populates over and tweak it. You can also set up any access details, if there's a gate code or where the lockbox is or how do they access the home. Is there an alarm? Do you need to provide an alarm code? Any additional instructions? You can do driving instructions. So all sorts of cool things you can do there. You can also add showing restrictions. So maybe they only want to show the properties between the time of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. You can block out the other times so that people can't request times that aren't going to work for your sellers. Or maybe they've got a child that naps from 1 to 3, so they'd like to not have showings between 1 and 3. You can block those times out. So super easy there. You can go in here and play with it and tweak it. Any questions on showing time? Okay, you don't have to use showing time. Okay, I just like it because it takes me out of the picture. Because now what happens is once I set them in here as the one that can approve or deny showings, is somebody contacts, either they put in the request online on showing time or on their showing time app, or they call showing time. Showing time is going to send that request directly to my sellers to either approve or deny the showing request. I'm going to get an FYI text message that a showing was requested. Then they're going to say, yes, it works, or no, it doesn't. Please do this time. And I'll go over that here in a minute because they get an email for that as well. And then now they're in charge of it. And I didn't have to interact with that listing agent or with that buyer's agent or with my sellers to try to approve that. I don't like hey, call me and ask for a showing. And I've got to call my sellers and ask if that's okay. And now I've got to get back to the agent. Now I've just wasted 15 minutes of my life trying to arrange a showing. Completely unnecessary. I could be out doing something fun. So that's why I like showing time. You don't have to use it. Input disclosures into HomeLight listing management. So as disclosures are coming in, we're having the sellers sign those SPQs and TDSs. We want to make sure to get those into HomeLight listing management. And then make sure to put that disclosures IO or that HLM link into the MLS. Here, we're going to update this with HLM. Okay, then we're going to schedule photos if we haven't done that already, right? So this is all like, it's hard to like define the timeline on the way into the listing, but we want to make sure we schedule pictures. Usually I do this as soon as that listing agreement signed, as long as I know approximately when we're aiming to have pictures scheduled. If we're going to have staging on the property, we're going to order that staging, and we're going to order any pre-listing inspections. Okay. Also, way in advance, I can order that sign install. So I can order my for sale sign to go in the yard. I usually have it installed within 10 days of the on market date, but I could schedule that a month in advance so that it goes in 10 days ahead of time. But keep in mind, we can only put that sign in the ground in the Barry's service area ahead of time. So that's Solano, Napa, Sonoma, Mendocino, and Marin counties. Otherwise, you have to install it 24 hours before it goes active in the MLS. You can't install it earlier than that. So if you're in like the Metro list, the Yolo, Sacramento, Placer, all those counties, then 24 hours before it goes active in the MLS. We want to make sure to install that key box. Oftentimes I install that key box as soon as possible, just so the key is no longer in my possession. It's now in a box on the property. I always make a copy of the key. Okay. Here, let's make a line item for that. Make a copy of house key. Okay, and why do I make a copy of the house key? Because at some point somebody's going to walk off with it. It's going to get lost. I don't want that to be my only copy of the key. I don't want it to get lost. Okay. I'm also going to open pre-escrow. I open pre-escrow on all of my listings just to make sure we don't run into any roadblocks that are going to cause this process to slow to a screeching halt after we have an accepted contract. So I want to make sure somebody's already looked at that preliminary title report. Somebody's reviewed all the information. They're also going to send me over a seller info sheet, which they need to check and make sure there's no additional judgments or liens against the sellers or their property as part of the sales process. So I'm going to make sure to get that over to my sellers ASAP. And there's an email for that, which I'll go over here in a minute, to make sure that they fill that out. I'm also going to order the NHD report. Keep in mind that if you use disclosure zone, it's a little Z big 1, right? It says 1 on it, like Realty 1. With environmental, that goes through my NHD through Realty 1 group. So that's our preferred provider. And then once I get that NHD report, you want to upload that to Disclosures.io or Homelight Listing Management as well. In addition, we talked about this with the Homelight Listing Management. With that NHD report comes links to all of the hazards booklet, the environmental hazards, the lead-based hazards, the whatever else is out there. There's a whole bunch of little hazard booklets and warnings and pamphlets that are supposed to be provided to the buyer. Those all come with that NHD report as hyperlinks. I would recommend pulling them off the hyperlinks and throwing them into that Homelight Listing Management file as individual items, just so we make sure that the buyer has seen them. We don't want to trust that a hyperlink that the buyer is going to see that and click on it. And we want to make sure that we provide them with all the required documents and disclosures. So I recommend clicking on those and uploading those separately. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, we're just plugging right away here on our pre-listing timeframe. We haven't even gotten into like the listings actually active. Then it says send intro email to sellers. So send after seller info sheet is received from title, include intro of TC, date of sign install, on market date, date and times of photos, inspections scheduled, open houses, confirm showing instructions, and link for showing time app. And then let them know that the email will be coming with disclosures and the importance of completing them as thoroughly as possible. Okay, that's what it says over here in the little info. So if we hop back over to our listing email template, this was the first one, right? It was just, hey, email number 1 is the signed listing agreement. And then every couple days, I schedule these emails to get delivered to them up until the intro email. So the second email that they get a couple days after that first, and we want these all to go to them before we go on market. So we kind of stagger them appropriately based on when that listing agreement was signed and when they're going to go on market. Second email is to convey or not to convey. That is the question. And that is what I use as my subject line, just so you know, is convey or not convey. That is the question. That's my subject of the email. When selling your home, we have to define what will stay, convey with the home, and what will go with you, not convey. Typically, items that convey are fixtures, Items that are attached to your walls and or floors. This includes such items as curtain rods, decorative shelf, garage cabinets, ceiling lights, and TV mounts. Your personal property, your personal pictures, wall art, mirrors, except bathroom mirrors. The curtains now is getting moved. I haven't updated this one in a while. Look at, we're going to move this up. Garage cabinets, curtain rods, curtains, because those now it should convey with the house. The new purchase agreement, when it was updated last year, said curtains convey. Washer, dryer, refrigerators are generally considered personal property and do not convey, right? So I'm trying to outline like, hey, here are some things that might convey and here are things that don't convey. Other items that stay with the home when sold are your plants in the yard that are in the ground, sheds, patio covers, pool equipment to include the pool vacuum, built-in microwaves, stovetops, ovens, and ranges. Are there any items that you do not wish to convey with the property? Are there items that you would like to leave with the property, right? So I'm asking them this question via email so that they can think about, so they can walk around their home and think about this question, because I'm going to do it with them usually around picture day or so. Or if we have a staging appointment where we're just talking about things they need to change, we're going to talk about, hey, those shelves there, do they stay or not? When in doubt, make a list of things that aren't going to stay so that potential buyers can review it and sign it with part of the offer. I'm going to upload that list into HomeLight Listing Management so that they can see it ahead of time. So if there's ever anything that isn't going to go with the property. Now, when it comes to like a mirror, if there was a bathroom mirror that they really wanted to take with them, or maybe there's a chandelier that's got sentimental family value to it over the dining room table, I'm going to instruct them to change those out before we go on the market, right? I don't want any questions. I don't want it to become a point of negotiation. If you want to take that item with you, take it out before we go on market is going to be my advice. Marcel, question?
That's just crazy that curtains are on there, but the mirrors for the bathrooms are like, okay, except for the bathroom mirrors, you know?
Well, most people think, oh, bathroom mirrors, like they stay, but there was a whole period in time where people were replacing bathroom mirrors with really fancy ones. And then they're like, well, I don't want my $300 bathroom mirror going with the property. I'm gonna switch it out with a $20 one. So that's where it came into play. It became one of these, like, the bathroom isn't a bathroom without a mirror, so the mirror should stay.
Yeah. But the curtains, like, everybody has their own style. Like, why not just be able to I get the rods, you know, they're attached to the wall, but you know.
Yeah, but oftentimes, right, they think, well, if the rod, is placed at 12 feet versus like regular 8 feet or, whatever, then how are we going to find curtains to go with that? And it's always been, up until last year, it was always kind of, hey, if it was like regular just like paneled curtains, like I can go to IKEA and buy them, then you can take them with you. But if it's custom drapes, they stay. And then it further clarified that, hey, like, the curtains were put there with the intention of it being a permanent fixture. Like I put those on the window as a way to permanently open and close the window from the rest of the world. So they should stay with the property. So yeah, but if your sellers didn't want their curtains to convey, that's probably not something that I'd necessarily want taken down before, because they probably add aesthetically to the house and to the value by looking at them, right? Desirability. But I would put them on that list of, hey, the curtains aren't going to convey in the master bedroom and the living room or wherever it is. And that's not talking about like blinds. And I think that's where the confusion came in, right? Like the difference between curtains and blinds and like what's attached and what's not. And so it just became this whole point of contention. So it got put on the new purchase agreement that the curtains stay. So if you don't want them to stay, put them on an addendum. There you go.
So same for so TV mounts. So those stay too, because that was an intention of like hanging the TV.
Yeah, I believe now on the new residential purchase agreement that the TV mount now is defaulted to go with, because people didn't really like the TV mount remaining, but you can ask for it to remain.
Yeah.
That was that was another big thing. In fact, I had a property that they marked the box that they wanted the fixture for the TV to stay, or they didn't check the box for it not to stay. I don't remember what the default was on the previous contract. So we left the TV mount, and then the listing agent got all bent out of shape because we left the TV mount. I was like, it says in the purchase contract that you want us to leave it. Like, for us to take it, it would have been against the contract. So now you're stuck with it. And anyways, so know the contract. I believe I believe now TV mounts can go with the sellers. They don't stay unless they're asked for as the default on those TV mounts. It's all a mess,
Okay.
right?
Gotcha.
So that's email number 2, convey or not convey. Remember, it kind of, for something to be a fixture of the property, it depends not on how it's attached and its intention, right? So usually decorative shelves are just kind of on screws and you can lift them up and off. They're not like screwed through the shelf to the wall. And that's kind of the difference, right? Your kitchen cabinets are screwed through the cabinet to the wall. They're attached. Like you can't just lift them up and carry them away versus that decorative shelf can be lifted and carried. But if the screws go through that decorative shelf, now it's become a pit fixture. So it's important to know what, not only how it's attached, but what the intention was. And again, I really can't emphasize this enough that when in doubt, clarify, right? So write the list of things that aren't going to convey with the property so that everybody is clear and has a good understanding of what that looks like. And it can't just be like a list put out there in the MLS or in your HomeLight listing management file. It needs to be part of the accepted offer. Okay, it needs to be signed in and attached to that offer that the following items do not convey. All right, email number 3 is California regulations, carbon monoxide, smoke detectors, and water heaters. Again, that would be my subject line for the email. A few other items we need to pay attention to. The state of California has a few requirements of all homes when they sell. Your water heater needs to be double strapped. You will need to have a working smoke detector in each bedroom, and you will need to have a working carbon monoxide detector and smoke detector in the hallway leading to the bedrooms. If you have a 2-story home, you need to have one on each floor. Please make sure this is taken care of prior to your home going on the market. If you need help with these items, please let us know so that we can facilitate making this happen, right? Before we even go on the market, I'm addressing this with my sellers so that they are aware and they can say, I think my water heater is double strapped, or Amy, can you help me? Is my water heater strapped? I don't understand. Or do I have smoke detectors in each room? Or, hey, I need 2 more smoke detectors. Do you have somebody that can help me install them, right? So we're getting that addressed before we go on the market so that we aren't going to have any issues when it's time for that appraisal to be completed. Here is email number 4. So again, those first 3 emails start once that listing agreement is signed, and then they kind of get spaced up to that 1 week prior to going on market, or it might be 1 a day if we're going on the market really quick. So we kind of space that out appropriately. Email number 4 was the one we were just talking about on the list. Once we open pre-escrow, we have the Glide opened and we have that HomeLight listing management file link. We're gonna call it the HLM link. Then we're going to send out this email. FYI, the sign has been ordered for your home and it will be installed this week. So, right, it's usually like when that sign is going to be installed, or you could do a specific day if you can put that day in there. The following items I need you to complete this week prior to your home going on the market. HomeLight. A HomeLight file has been created for your home. All disclosures, inspections, and reports for your property can be found at, and I put a copy of that link from that HomeLight listing management file. Your emails have been linked to this file. Every time the file is updated, you will receive an email notifying you. So on your HomeLight listing management file, that's not HomeLight, near this one. I'll get there eventually. You can come in here and you can share package. And you can put, hey, the buyer or the seller, depending on who it is, right? So you put the seller, their name and their email, and that you would send them a link to access this package. So that's what it's talking about there in that email. Okay. And then it goes on to Glide. Glide is a program we use for mandatory seller disclosures that need to be completed. Later today, you will receive an email from Glide labeled, titled, please complete blank with the street name there. Mandatory seller disclosures. So that's what the email comes out. That's what the subject looks like from our Glide system. Please complete all the documents this week prior to your home going on the market, right? So I'm just outlining, hey, look for this email, look for that email. Seller information sheet, please complete the attached document. This item cannot be electronically signed. Once complete, you can fax, scan, and email, hand it off to Amy to drop off, or hand deliver it to title. Social Security numbers are required. I recommend leaving Social Security numbers blank and then calling the title office and giving them your Social Security numbers over the phone. Email, please include this in the subject line, Old Republic Title Company, attention, whoever your title company and escrow officer is, escrow number, we got a pre-escrow number. So I'm telling them, hey, in the subject line, include this so they know what they're looking at. And then title company name, attention, title rep, address, phone number, email, etc. Right? Don't hesitate to ask Amy or I if you have questions. Again, this is coming from my transaction coordinator. Okay, so we're attaching that seller information sheet from the title company to this email. The title company needs wet signatures on that form, which is why they have to actually like print it and sign it. So this is something then we're following up on every couple of days to ask them how they want to get that back to the title company. And I don't want them to, send those social security numbers via email, which is not secure, over to title. So if they're going to email it, I tell them to leave it blank, and then they can call the title office to give them their social security numbers. Okay, that's email number 4. So that goes out usually about a week or so, maybe 10 days before we go on market. Email 5, we're getting closer to coming on market, is showing your home. You've been set up with your own personal showing app to allow agents of potential buyers to schedule showings. Please download the app called Showing Time. You will want to create a user based on the email you have provided to us. That's how it will link the account we created for you to your login. Through this app, you will receive requests for showings and be able to approve or deny them. If you deny them, you can propose other times that will work better for your schedule. If possible, do whatever you can to make requested showings work. Okay, this app will also keep a calendar of confirmed showings for you so that you can keep your brain straight as we move through the process of selling your home. It will also provide a platform to get feedback from the showings. Later, we will be able to schedule inspections here as well. Here are some expectations I have of you to make your home show ready. Vacate the property while it is being shown. Leave the home 10 minutes prior to the scheduled showing time and plan for 45 minutes per showing. Turn on all the lights. Keep the house at a comfortable temperature. Open drapes and blinds. Keep pets and pet-related items secured outdoors. Play quiet background music. Light the fireplace if seasonally appropriate and you're going to be nearby. Infuse the home with a comforting scent like apple spice or vanilla. A good way to make your home smell good is to bake cookies right before. It will make your house smell amazing, and people love cookies as they view homes. If you are going to be gone for the day, make sure your home is show ready, even if we don't have any scheduled showings. Okay, right? So I'm setting myself up for success here for scheduled showings, outlining what I'm going to expect of the sellers when they leave the home. Okay, so that's email number 5. That usually goes out like a day or 2 before we go on market. Okay, right before those showings start. Email 6 is going to go out on market day. Congratulations, today is the day. Your home is officially on the market. Below you will find a link to your live listing. Please feel free if you have any questions or concerns. It should say to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. Here I'm going to find the link from my website to post here. Sometimes I also go ahead and post the Zillow listing because you know how sellers are. They're going to check the main sites to make sure their property is populated on there. We will update you on your property weekly. You will receive an email on Monday and a call on Tuesday, right? I'm setting the expectation of, hey, every Monday you're going to get an email from me with an update, and I'm going to call you on Tuesdays. And I better follow through on that, right? I'm trying to alleviate the 20 billion text messages and phone calls on Saturday afternoon. When we receive offers, we will notify you immediately and let you know that an offer has been received and set a plan to review offers. Check to see if the following has been completed, right? This is just a note for us. Glide. If not, I'm going to make a note to complete their disclosures and the seller information sheet. If they haven't done that, I'm going to remind them in that email. Okay, so that's email 6. That's on market date. And then this right here is after we enter into escrow. So we're going to flip back to the transaction. Any questions so far?
Amy, where can we get receive a copy of these email templates?
Yes. So in the chat box, there's a link for the folder that's going to give you access to all 4 of these items. The email templates is in there as well. So if you check the chat box, you should find that. Yep. All right. We're going to review, once they've filled out those Glide disclosures, we're going to review for completeness. I rarely ever have an issue when people fill things out through Glide. I rarely have an issue with them not being complete. But sometimes there may be things that I know should have been disclosed that aren't on there because sellers forget. But at that point, I may do like an addendum to the TDS or an addendum to the SPQ. I'll call up my sellers and be like, hey, I was reviewing disclosures and I noticed that you didn't mention the house was painted. And I know that we just like put a fresh coat of paint on the entire house. So I'm just going to do an addendum to that document stating that the whole house was painted prior to going on market. So I'm just going to give them a heads up on those type of things that I know need to be disclosed. I'm not going to question or push them on things on other items, but if there's things that I know, oh, that should have been disclosed, I'm going to throw that on there. Okay. Send disclosures to sellers or listing agent for completion. So once the disclosures are filled out, once they're complete, then they have to be signed by all of us, the listing agent and the seller. So I'm going to send those out for signatures. I'm going to make sure that seller info goes back to the title company. And now I'm going to send out those just listed postcards. My goal is to send out just listed postcards about 24 to 48 hours in advance of that listing going live. Maybe even a few days sooner, like the week of sometime, so that those are hitting people's mailboxes about the same time that it's actually going live, not after the fact. We're going to make sure all of our disclosures have been uploaded to HomeLight Listing Management. We're going to upload any reports or inspections that have been completed to HomeLight Listing Management. We're going to upload that prelim and CC&Rs to HomeLight Listing Management. That's all going to be done, hopefully, on market. Okay, so those are kind of all of our activities. The other thing that you may want to do here is put together your marketing plan for the property. And again, if you can promote it as a coming soon listing, there might be some additional steps that you want to squeak into that pre-listing process to make sure that those items are taken care of as well. Any questions before we move into the active listing stage of the property? All right. Once we move
I have
into
a question. Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
So I know that the link is on the chat. So all of this stuff, like whenever, like all of the mentees, did we already like automatically get a link or shared access to that Google Drive, or is that the Google Drive, or is that link specific to these documents?
That link is specific to these 4 documents. So we usually, depending on the training, share the link. And I think maybe those same links are linked on our training spreadsheet that has the training schedule along with the link for each training or the recording, the link to the YouTube recording. And then I think she also links on any tools that were shared during that class as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. So then we move into our active listing phase, right? We're now officially on the market. In the MLS, the property is live. The property should automatically roll out to all of the syndicated sites, your realtor.com, your Zillow.com, right? Your whatever else, homes.com, Coldwell Banker, Remax. It should be on all their sites because they all pull it from the MLS. So I usually do, once the property is live, I do double check those. And like I said, you may want to include on that email, like the link for the Zillow listing, because people are going to be looking for it on there. And you may clarify, like you may pull it from your own personal website, right? We all get websites through, whether it's through Boomtown or OneSuite or whatever. So I always make sure to pull the property from mine that's going to direct people back to me, because my goal is to leverage this listing for leads. So if I'm going to put more than one link on that email that goes to my buyers, or my sellers, I'm going to say, hey, here's the link for your listing. If you want to share this on your social media, or please share it on your social media. If you want to share it with any friends, please share this link and not the Zillow link. That will make sure that anybody who's interested in your home gets connected directly with me instead of an agent that pays for leads through one of those other sites, right? So I may spell it out as clear as possible. so that they know which link to share and that it is okay to share it on their social media. Otherwise, people are going to go on the Zillow or realtor.com and they're going to pull and be like, oh, look how amazing my house is. I want to share it on my social media. And they're going to share that link and it's going to take them. And then that lead's going to get sold to somebody else in our office instead of going right back to you. So you'll be sad and you'll cry because you won't get any leads from your listings. So we want to make sure to bring those back to us. So make sure you're sharing it from your website. Okay. And make sure to explain to them why that's important. Active listing. We're going to make sure that if we have any open houses scheduled that we didn't host them, that we get open house feedback. Okay. So if it's my listing and I've got Brittany hosting the open house for me, I'm going to follow up with her if I haven't heard from her on Monday and say, hey, Brittany, just checking in with you. How was the open house this weekend? How many parties did you have through? What was the feedback that was received? Did you have any interested parties? Were there any agents that stopped by? Can I get their information from you? Right? So I'm going to get that information from whoever held the open house. Now, if you're holding open houses for other agents, be proactive. Become their favorite open house agent. And the way to do that is if I'm hosting an open house for Maciel, at the end of the open house, I'm going to put together a summary for her. Hey, Maciel, the open house has been completed. The house is locked up. We ended up with 7 groups through the property. 3 of them were with agents. And the feedback was this. It sounded like maybe 1 or 2 of them were contemplating writing an offer. I'd highly recommend reaching out to Raquel, one of the other agents, because it sounded like her clients were really interested, right? So provide feedback. It can be via email, text. It can be a phone call to the other agent. So they have something, number 1, to get back to their sellers with, and number 2, so they know what went on at the open house. Okay. So get that open house feedback, send listing report to seller from MLS. So there's a listing report you can pull up. Send the status updates. Remember I said I was going to, the listing report to the seller from the MLS on market date. That's just like the client detail report for their listing. So they can see everything that the potential buyer would see with regards to their listing. In case something was inputted incorrect, they can be like, oh, can we change this? Or I noticed here that you marked that it was connections only for the washer and dryer, but we've decided we want to leave them behind, right? So whatever that might be, so that they can see that. So I usually provide that seller report there. Send status update when that goes out weekly, even it says once in contract. I do the status update even weekly when we're live and active. And that's just going to be like, hey, we had this many showings this week. I think we're still priced appropriately. Here's the feedback received, right? Whatever that might be. We're going to send that status update. Make sure you input any open houses into the MLS so it can get pushed out and syndicated out. So the most people as possible can go through that open house. Set your marketing plan into action. You're going to negotiate any price improvements as necessary or price adjustments. Complete any price improvement paperwork. Input listing modifications into the MLS, right? So if we're going to change or adjust anything, make sure you upload all changes to SkySlope, and we're going to update SkySlope with those changes. Not only do you have to upload it in, but we have to, like we do a price change, you update the price in SkySlope as well as the MLS. So that would be, if you did a price change, we're going to make sure that to change that price in the MLS as well. When we have an active listing, we want to be actively marketing that. I will try to make sure I pull up my example marketing calendar and throw it into this folder as well. In fact, while we're talking, I'll try to see if I can pull it up. You want to be marketing that property on social media. I highly recommend putting it on broker tour on Tuesday mornings. Show up to the MLS meeting either via Zoom or in person to be able to talk about that property. Hold on, we're just looking to see if I have it. I'm not sure it's in this folder. And you can market it to other offices. So you could like go visit or send it out to, there's email places that you can create a username for and make a flyer, and then it goes out to their emails. So like if I was in Solano County trying to sell a property, I may want to like pinpoint agents in the San Francisco area. So it allows you to pull agents from different counties or MLSs to be able to target for things like marketing. So that's a good thing to do. If you want the name of that, let me know and I will come up with the name for you of one of the companies that does that so that you can market it that way. You want to throw it out in social media on all the groups. So like the homes for sale groups, the what's going on in the area groups. You also want to think about like who would be moving to this area, where are they moving from? So there's lots of different ways that you can market that property. We could do a whole class on that. And maybe we should, in the new year, we will talk about how to market properties appropriately. Hold on, I'm just looking to see if I can find my marketing calendar for y'all. It didn't used to, you didn't used to have to work that hard. You're really marketing to get leads. Now we're actually marketing to like make our property stand out, right? It's a little bit more difficult in this day and age to get properties sold. Although if you price them appropriately, you should be able to do that. So if you're marketing the property appropriately, you've got it listed on all the sites. How do we know if it's time for a price improvement? One of them would be, here we go. One of them would be no showings, right? If we're not getting any showings and the property's probably not listed appropriately, or if we're getting a lot of showings or we're getting showings and we're just not getting any offers, then we should be able to obtain feedback from those agents. So never hesitate to call or text the agents that are showing your property to ask for feedback so that you can provide that to your sellers so that they know what kind of feedback they're receiving. And it may be things like, oh, the house just appears really dirty, or it may be that it seems priced too high, right? So whatever that is, we want to be able to share that. I will throw this in the folder as well, this example marketing calendar, right? We got pre-listing like 14 days before the on-market date, and then kind of here are some things that you could do once it's a new listing for like the first 30 days. Okay, you can do things like, well, anyways, so if you're not getting enough showings, usually, if you're not getting any showings, there's definitely a problem. But usually if it's less than like 3 or 4 showings a week, I'd probably relook at that market analysis report and make sure your property is priced appropriately and see if we need to do any sort of price adjustment. The other thing that you can do is call around to other agents that have properties for sale around yours and ask them what kind of showings they're getting, just so you can compare, right? Like ask for feedback from them. How's your showings been? It's been pretty active. No, it's been pretty dead. If everybody is dead and we're all priced about the same, I would say just leave it. Don't fret. Like, don't be too quick to jump to price improvements when it's not warranted. But here's that marketing calendar. And that's going to wrap me up for today. We're going to continue on tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We'll talk about the contract to close process. Like now we have an accepted offer to close on a listing. We'll talk about what that looks like and what to expect. Any other questions before we wrap up for today? Was this helpful?
Super helpful. So
Yes.
if we grab that link and save it, just like save it anywhere, we should be able to pull it up at any time.
Yeah, and once you open that link in your Google Drive, you should with me and it should pop up there at any time in the future as well, but you can save the link as well.
Okay. But
Yep.
so is there also like a link that we have to your shared stuff? So like I know you said like Abby will send the stuff like for each class that we have, but is there like so that we can access it at any time, the open place that we can go to see to find anything?
I would like to say yes, but it's kind of been a jumbled mess this year. That's probably on my list of things that I would like to clean up. But anytime you log anything that I've shared with you, so there's not one link for everything. I will work on getting that cleaned up so that there's like one shared folder where everybody can kind of go to get some resources. But for now, there's not that.
Okay.
How's that for now?
I know before you had also talked about, like, we talked about what classes would be nice to have.
Yes.
Did you guys come up with a probate class, like a probate listing, how to start a probate listing?
Yes. So in fact, if you log your attendance, so the link to log your attendance is in the chat box, and on that attendance form, there is a recommended classes or classes you'd like to see in the future. Throw that in there so it doesn't get stuck on a sticky on my desk. And then what I
Okay.
do is I pull up that form when I go to put together the new schedule. But
Okay,
are
I
you
put it on
talking
there.
about like just listing a probate sale, or how to go after probate listings in general?
Yeah,
Like,
how to list a probate. So like if someone's like, oh yeah, like I need to go ahead and sell, like I need to sell this house, you know, it was my grandpa's, he passed
Yep.
away. And so I guess just the questions to ask, you know,
absolutely.
and the steps for that.
All right. Yeah. Throw that in that the attendance form, and then we'll make sure we get it on the calendar.
Thank you.
And I'm adding well, I thought I was. Oh, I know why. I'm going to add that marketing calendar into that listing folder for you guys to access as well. And then we'll pick this up again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. and we'll start with that contract to close.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.